That's absolutely right. Hit music for Lagos, 102.3 Max FM. It's on popping right here on the best midday show in the whole country, probably in the whole of Africa. You know what? In the whole world,
You
okay?
mean on the planet
In the
or the
whole
solar system?
universe, galactic
Yes. Now,
system,
if you go to
whatever it
Pluto,
is.
self, you can you can
Bro,
find
you
some
can
like
stream us,
ask
okay?
the aliens on Neptune.
They know what it is. They know we
Pluto.
the best. We the flyest,
Okay,
okay?
pardon us. We can be vain
We
sometimes.
can be, but it's okay. We believe in our sauce. Anyway, it's me, BB Rain. Real Skills right here with you till 2 p.m. today,
That's what's
as
up.
per usual. But today we're hitting you with a special guest, somebody that I am super duper excited to be sitting down and chatting with. Literally the son of a legend, or the grandson of a legend, an absolute icon in his own right,
Yes.
might I add.
Yes.
The one, the only, Made Kuti.
Man, it's great to have you with us. How you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Man, it is great to have you. And having you walk in, and I look, I'm like, you know what? Hey, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You know, and the crown got to be your family legacy, right? How heavy is that?
Not heavy at all. I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate. I have lived a very eventful life in the industry because of the kind of support that I've had from my family. And the legacy is what fuels me as opposed to what I am pressured by. Is what I always say. I'm blessed and I don't want to. Everything has its positives and negatives, but I think in my case, the positives outweigh the negative.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Man, congratulations on the brand new album, by the way. Chapter 1, Where Does Happiness Come From?
Yeah.
That is a very interesting title for an album. Where does happiness come from?
Yeah.
And let me ask you, where do you think happiness comes from?
I've been very intentional not to give my answer because I want it to remain subjective. I want people to be able to interpret it in the way that they feel is, natural to them. But what I will say is that the album and the lyrics within it channel towards self-awareness, development, accountability, progress, strength in mind, strength in body, those kinds of themes. So yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, your grandfather, Fela Kuti, was obviously a revolutionary, and your father, Femi, has obviously carried that torch also. So with that being said, how do you balance honoring their legacy whilst also carving and creating your own artistic identity that we're obviously seeing in the latest album?
That's a creative question. So Fela, the only reason Afrobeat exists is because he decided to do something experimental and take a risk creatively and design and pioneer a genre of music that never existed before. And my father, following along that path in his own way, started to modernize Afrobeat with albums like Shocky Shocky and Fight to Win, featuring artists like Mos Def and Common, and doing something extraordinary in his own way. He's redefined Afrobeat for his own space.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is, by honoring them, I don't think being very conservative about Afrobeat and doing it exactly as they have done it
Interesting.
would be right by me. So I have to be able to take the same amount of risk that they took and check and explore more spaces that Afrobeat can fit in and,
Push
be
the
more...
envelope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be creative, be daring and all those words.
And how would you say you're doing that right now? Because you did have you do have a song on the album, titled Find My Way.
Yeah.
So how would you say you're finding your own way sonically and also, as a personality as well?
I'm a very not relaxed person, but I'm very in tune with who I am. So generally, I just make decisions based on how I feel and how I experience things. So the album, if you listen through, stylistically, it changes quite often. And that's just because in the moment of writing, I thought that was something interesting to do. And I don't want to ever subject myself to commercial standards because I feel like it will limit how much knowledge I have of music because of the exposure that I've had since I've been young. And also I don't want to be too elitist within the sound, and say it doesn't matter what the audience
True.
thinks. I care what people think. I care how they feel. I care that they're able to listen and enjoy it. So it's somewhere in between. Yeah.
Interesting. But are you not scared also, is a part of you not scared that, if you you said I'm not scared to explore, to really expand, the sound. Does the thought not, come to your mind sometimes that if you add too many elements, you might diffuse or dilute Afrobeat, as Fela created?
Oh, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to dilute it because there's, if I, like I said, if I do exactly like he did it, I would be failing. I would be compromising what he would expect of me, I believe. I feel like Fela himself, his music never stayed the same over the sort of 3 decades of Afrobeat, from the 60s to the 80s. His music in the 60s with like Koku, or later on like Zombie, was entirely different from his later works like with Egypt 80, like ODOO, Confusion Breakbone.
Yeah.
So
True.
if he was changing within his lifetime, this is
Who are you not to? Who are
exactly
you not to continue
who
and
am I
push
not
the
to?
envelope?
And
Absolutely.
each one of us is doing that. Gusheo, my dad, myself, and yeah.
That's bad.
I do want to ask you, if you could ask Fela any question at all, whether it be about music, whether it be about the world, politics, arts, what question would it be if you could pick his brain?
Oh man! As soon as you asked that, the question came up, and I thought it might be controversial to ask.
Fair. What would it be?
I think I would ask him if he could do it again. Would he put family first? Yeah, I think I'd ask that.
Wow. So, do you feel like Fela did not quite put family first, and he put Nigeria first?
That was his philosophy. It was why his children couldn't call him dad or father. He wanted them to call him Fela, as to level the playing field in his home, because everybody was supposed to be, equal in Kalakuta. It wasn't until much later in his life that he started to recognize his children as distinct from, his supporters or his fans.
Yeah.
So I'd ask. I think that's what I'd ask. If you could do it again, would you still, fight for the country, but secure your home first, not just open it? Because Kalakuta's policy was anybody could enter
come in,
at
yes.
any time.
Yes.
So yeah,
And
that's
that-
what I'd ask.
As a musician and as an artist yourself now, and also a husband, congratulations! By the
Thank you very
way.
much.
How do you find that balance between, maintaining your identity as an individual, as an artist, whilst also being a husband?
Yeah, so that's what I do. The latter. I prioritize family first, and I do everything that I can to be, a positive contributor to my community. I don't steal, I don't cheat. My music is conscious. I don't try to water down the craft. I try to be the best kind of musician I can be, play multiple instruments, work hard every day, represent. But I'll do all that and secure and make sure that, we're well
You
fed.
put your family first.
Yeah.
But with that being
secure.
said, do you feel like that then puts sort of like a glass ceiling to your success as an artist, as a musician?
I feel that it's hard to determine, because I strongly believe that if Fela fought as he did, but weeded out and was able to identify who truly cared and who didn't around him, he would have been able to have at least a longer impact.
Discernment.
Yeah.
The power of discernment.
Do you think a longer life too?
A longer life for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I truly believe that. He had like horrible people in his ears. He had a cousin that gambled. I don't know if it was a cousin or a friend that gambled all his money away. He had another one that convinced him that he had witchcraft and powerful juju that could make money disappear. And, so, yeah, he didn't have good people around him.
Very interesting. And listening to your music as well, despite the fact that you feel like you wanted Fela to maybe have put family first over Nigeria, you did also learn philosophically from him.
Yeah.
The life he lived, the things he did. If you listen to a song like Life as We Know It, you were speaking about how many cars you need. All the billions you carry mean that people are not suffering in your street. And recently you did granted you got an interview where you spoke about how Fela died broke.
Yeah.
But then if you listen to this line, it seems Fela was saying, do I need more than 2 cars, or 1 car?
Yeah.
I'll rather open, my home up to Nigerians who need, all of these resources to come and take what they need, like, noted in that interview. So, and you also echoed that in this particular record. Now, what I want to ask you is, if, would you actually told that same part in terms of like, the resources that God blesses you with?
So You know, there's a difference, I think, between extravagance and just being comfortable.
Hmm.
So, family first in the way I am referring to is not uh, extravagant lifestyle. It's not multiple cars. I have one car. You know what I mean? It's just making sure that people are safe
Hmm.
and the people I care about are comfortable and can eat 3 square meals a day. I mean, there was a time there wasn't food on the table for my parents, for my father and
Wow.
Auntie YK,
Wow.
and even hospital bills were too expensive to cover at that time. So Fela dying broke, and also he had a lot of money. Fela, before the decline financially, he
Yes.
was wealthy. Fela was rich enough to, apparently, from what I've heard, to buy a lot of land around Pepple Street.
Hmm.
And the New Africa Shrine that he used to play, he never owned. He was renting.
Interesting.
So this is what I mean by, if he had good people in his ear, he would have reinvested the money back into the industry rather than spend it on. I believe people that would not necessarily have been able to truly appreciate it. I feel that sometimes there's a difficult choice to make between like instant gratification from people around you that hail you and call your name and shout your name, and making decisions that can directly financially
Yes.
have an impact to certain people around you. So at a point Fela realized that, and he banned people from hailing him.
Interesting.
Yeah, he said, nobody call me, don't shout my name, don't hail my name. And yeah,
I love that.
Linking that to the title of the album, what we're discussing right now, and then linking it to where does happiness come from.
yeah.
And if you ask me, I think Fela died fulfilled. I just my theory, right? For some of the things that you said he did. I don't know. First and foremost, do you think he died fulfilled? And then second most,
Yeah.
why do you think Nigerians struggle, with happiness and feeling fulfilled with the life that they have?
So for the former, the first one, if Fela died fulfilled, one thing for sure is that he lived his life entirely on his own terms. So I think a life led like that is a life led fulfilled. I think where my concern comes from is sort of the love and appreciation that I have for him, and wishing that he was protected more. So that's where my discomfort comes from. As for why the average Nigerian is not happy,
Why do they struggle?
why do they struggle? Well,
to find happiness, to be happy, and fulfilled with.
Well, at the start, it was definitely bad leadership. It was a very selfish and capitalist middle class, upper middle class that's, to continue to exploit and extort from its people and spoil services that were supposed to be designed for the betterment of the people, school, healthcare, etc., and pocketing all that money. But at a certain point, I think it became the responsibility of the average Nigerian to take the matter into their own
Their
hands.
own hands. That's take your power back. Absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, if you have a country with 200 plus million people, at a point you can't quite start to blame a minority of, granted very wealthy and powerful people, but as a collective, if we had the same goal in mind and wanted to do it intentionally, then everybody from, the middle class down, lower middle class down, would have that done. I mean, it might take a struggle, but it's our resources,
Absolutely. With that being said, what role do you think artists should play in times of political or, I guess you could say, social instability?
Because you did say you're not interested in activism. I'm just throwing that in.
Well, no, but with the music though, do you
Yeah.
think that artists should use their music to speak up, or is silence okay too? Do you
So-
feel like the public should put the pressure on artists as public figures to speak up
So it's
in
not,
those times?
yeah, it's not that I'm not interested in activism. It's that I don't think right now it would work.
No, I see the activism in your music.
Exactly.
But
I'm not going to say, it's like me trying to talk about government and telling, if I need to reiterate the kinds of things that Fela said for 3 decades and the things that my father has said for 4, then I just don't think doing the same thing over and over again is going to yield a different result. I think persistence is important, which is why the music is still very conscious. But as
what baby?
yeah, but you see, with whether I think other artists should be political or to be activists in their music, I don't think so. I think that balance is important. I think music that speaks to self is just as important as music that just makes you want to love or dance. I don't think love songs are bad. I don't think songs about a man or a woman singing about the extravagant lifestyle is bad if that's what they feel like creating and communicating. Art has to be diverse. But I think to a degree there is a responsibility for everybody to do what they do with intention. And also understanding the consequences of creativity. If you do something that is really good or really popular and it has a terrible message within it, you're accountable for that message that you've delivered. It's like what I posted on what I posted on Twitter yesterday about my dad's store. I did it knowing full well that it might trigger a few people.
Okay.
But I thought it was worth the risk. What's a few
Trigger people for the greater good.
for the greater good,
Fair,
because
fair.
it's important that that Femi Kuti, and a lot of the argument was centered around, well, you should pay a PR team. Well, I think truly, like I said earlier, there has to be balance. There has to be people within journalism that take risks about sharing information that can impact positively, not necessarily just the cause, and this is how much I have and this is how much I spent on my wedding, blah blah.
And that what you're saying in essence is the responsibility cuts across not just from the artist
it's
making the music,
far beyond that,
to
even the
people,
consumers,
to the
consumers.
media,
absolutely,
to every different our sector within the
to
country.
healthcare, to
Healthcare as
education,
well.
to teachers, to doctors. I mean, everybody is.
We got to do our beat essentially.
If you're in Lagos and you're not,
Doing something you're not doing right.
We still want to having conversations even behind the microphone, on the microphone. We still got plenty of things we like to still dig out of you before we let you go. We know that you have like a lot of rounds that you still have to get to. But back to our conversation a while ago while we're talking about Nigerians, happiness. And and then us talking so much about this. You said something about how Fela spoke for 2 decades. Your father as well spoke more. Yet nothing has changed within the Nigerian setting per se. Now, if we've been talking all this while and nothing has changed, how do you then think, in your own opinion, that we can really truly change Nigeria?
well, I think that one very important aspect is education. I think that an informed people are very powerful people, and I think that education comes from a lot of relearning. So obviously, we've all accepted, I think, now in this era that the academic format is suited towards a very Western serving learning, and a educational system that doesn't teach us about pre-colonial history, about how great the African man was, how even basic anthropology, like how all man came from Africa, about how we are rich in resources, about the Benin Wall, about the Egyptian Empire. So all these things that I feel can instill pride and self-worth in people to know that they have so much value and they don't need to seek beyond their land to accomplish something. And know that their situation is circumstantial. It's not it's not divine that the African is meant to suffer. Where it's a result of colonial intervention, of slavery, of even bad leadership for so many years and bad elitism. So I feel like if a lot of us around our age take a very honorable stance in accepting that it might not happen in our lifetime, but what we do to influence the next generation can almost determine how progressive that Nigeria and Africa can be. So I think it's information. Truly, I think that for example, my dad went on tour recently, and 3 of his band members ran away absconded.
Nah, that's crazy.
And I've known some of these guys for like 10, 11 years. And so let me give you a bit of the statistics of traveling with like a Nigerian. If I work with an American band, and I pay, give or take, if I can afford, $250 per show, $250 per show, I'm paying $250 per show to that American musician. If I fly with a Nigerian to America, to the States or Canada for a tour, I'm paying for visa fees, which will cost me per person roughly 200 to 400k,
Mhm.
and I'm going to pay that flight fee,
Absolutely.
which will cost me about $1,800 to $2,000.
Mhm.
So in addition to the $250 I'll be paying per show, I'm also paying an extra cost to fly them out, get their
Absolutely.
visas. And in this particular case, there were two people that were very difficult to get the visas for. And my dad had to call in a lot of favors to
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah.
And they knew, because everybody had gotten their visas, but they hadn't. These were the two people, and the first to run away
Wow.
on this tour. Now, why
Wow.
did they run? They'll say greener pastures, better opportunities in America. I know some of them, they left families here, children and their wife. But now, as a consequence, they've done this for about 4 decades. This has been happening since Fela's generation. And this has happened to all musicians, not just the Kutis,
Absolutely.
Wizkid. This is why I think us and I think one or two other bands like the Bantu Crew are the only bands that fly with their musicians from Nigeria now. So now it's nearly impossible to get visas for musicians if you're in Lagos, because this is the legacy that they've left the younger
And, yeah.
musicians. This is what they've set. This is the standard that they've set for
Absolutely.
Nigerians, and they might have thought that they were serving themselves well, but all they've done is consequently just
Ruined it for future generations.
for future generations of passionate young
Artists,
musicians,
yeah.
and it's just
Sad. It's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad.
It's crazy.
sad.
Yeah. With that being said, what does being African mean to you today, especially in the context of global Black identity, music, history, and arts?
Can you ask me that one more time, please?
Okay. What does being African
Yeah.
today
Yes.
mean to you,
Yes.
in the context especially of global Black identity, music, history, and arts? Being
Okay.
African, what does it mean to you?
I consider myself Pan-Africanist. The reason I do is because I have a strong belonging in Nigeria and in Africa. And I was very blessed in that I had a formal education in music in London. But as soon as my last class was done, I came back. And it was because I felt that if I ever had anything of value to do in my life, I wanted to do it in a space that was totally natural to me. So I think Afrocentric decisions are based around deeper intentions. And I don't think it's sometimes it can be a bit more surface level, like I want to wear African clothing, I want to, speak my language, but I think it's something slightly deeper than that. It's making a conscious effort in that where you spend, where you live,
How you raise your kids.
how you raise your kids is really based around an approach that is channeled towards and intentionally channeled towards the betterment of your community. So that's what I think. I think even people in diaspora are in some way, especially people that left in the 60s and 70s, when it was very easy and cheap and just post-colonial. I feel like they're part of the problem in a very honest way, because if you have a skill set that is great and you leave where it is almost in high demand for a better living,
Nice.
I can't say don't go and make money for a family, because like I said family first.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
at what point do you reinvest into your
Own.
Community,
That's huge right there.
So I think it's financial and it is professional. So
As
it's
well.
Intentional.
It's
That's the
intentional,
biggest thing that I
yeah.
got away. It's intentional.
Man, we got 1 billion plus one things that we like to dig at but time is of the essence, and it waits for
Yeah.
no one. So we do have to let you get to all the businesses and rounds for the day. But of course, congratulations one more time.
Thank you.
For the new album. Where does happiness come from? You said that's chapter 1, so we
That's
should be
chapter
expecting
1.
chapter 2.
Exactly.
I suppose. But the chapter 1 is
that.
out everywhere, Legacy
Yeah.
City right now. Everywhere that you get your music, Apple Music, Spotify, Boomplay, Deezer. Go dig in and see if you can find an answer, to that question that the album is. Where does happiness come from? There's a question I wanted to ask you, but we'll leave that for the podcast. When I drag you out, for my podcast, I was going to ask you: do you think Nigerians, really look their demons in the eyes, there's a song you can't hide in your album.
Yeah.
You can run, but you can't hide. But that conversation, I'll leave it for when I, get to, find the time in your time to
All right.
drag you out and we get to, dissect through that properly. Yes. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so
Thank you for
much.
having me, man. It was
Yes.
wonderful.
We're gonna leave you with this.